Hey guys, it's Jay and Scott Solari. We are hanging out at our normal twice monthly FabFit Over 40 health and vitality secrets for the busy professional. I'm supposed to be joined by a lot of guys from the SOAR team today. Dr. Brett Osborne, Ray Kerr. Don't know if he's going to be able to call in. He's in traffic in Washington, D.C., and then possibly Jim Brown. And Monica will be joining us hopefully within the next 5-10 minutes. So Scott, let's chat.
Yeah, man, totally. So, talk to me about some of the things that are in the pipeline. We were just kind of talking about it, pre-show, but you guys got right now you're launching personally with Monica, your age reversal program. Tell me a little bit about what you've been doing, because I've been seeing videos and I know some other people out there have been seeing some of the stuff you're doing. Sure. I'd be interested to know a little bit more in depth about what your age reversal program is and what you guys are doing with that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, first off, Monica and I are really, really excited. We actually have 34 people signed up for the program tomorrow. It's basically a 6-week, kind of like an hour-long webinar every week. It's Thursday, starting tomorrow on October 8th, and it's going to run through November 12th. All the webinars are recorded. It's going to be me, Monica, and then Jim, who's technically, realistically, my mentor in so many things in the health and fitness realm. And we're just going to be talking to people of all ages about, strength training the right way, how to endurance train, everything that comes along with it from a nutritional standpoint, supplements, of course, hormonal optimization, big proponent of that. And then Monica's going to work too on mindset, So the goal of the program is to get people to watch and really, really learn stuff that they think they may have a better command of than they really do, and then to take that information back to their local gyms, their local market, their local nutritional places or whatever, and utilize that information so that they can, segment it into a format that helps them individually.
Awesome. So with each webinar, are you going to have, obviously each person that's joining is in a different place with fitness, health, whatever, right? It's probably all over the map. Are you going to still have actionable items that you want them to do every week when they come back to the webinar the following week?
Yeah. So good question. And absolutely, positively, yes. The first week tomorrow is more about setting expectations, understanding that people are at different fitness levels, different knowledge levels, all of those things. And just, talking to them from a standpoint of, okay, you might be a 60-year-old lady or a man and you've never trained a day in your life and you don't know anything about this, that, and the other, but you can still, like you said, take actionable steps to improve your life, regardless of what your goal is, right? Like Monica likes to say, not everybody wants to look great in a bikini, right? But maybe you want to be able to pick up your daughter or your granddaughters and, have more energy, throughout the course of your day. So the whole program is designed around, taking everyone individually and creating or modifying a new lifestyle or new habits that will improve, respective to what their goals are. So, but yeah, every week, like I can kind of just give you bullet points. Like, first week is about setting expectations, talking to people about where they're at, what we're going to be dealing with over the next 5 to 6 weeks. And then, from a week-to-week basis, like week 2 is going to be about nutrition. Okay.
Right.
Like literally breaking people's nutrition down. Like, what are you doing right now? What should you be doing? And, what do Jay, Monica, and Jim do? Right. Then the third week is going to be strength training and endurance training, which is really going to be a real focus of us to, let people, as you know, Scott, because we've talked about it so many times on the show before, but really teach people how to train, okay? Stop wasting time when they go to the gym. Stop effing off. Really, really focus on, like, go to the gym, do something productive, get the hell out.
Yeah.
Week 4 is going to be about hormonal optimization. I know that that's going to also be a really, really important topic because it's about women. It's not just men, of course. It's going to be for women too. What to do, how to get diagnosed, how important is hormonal optimization in the big scheme of things. As you know, it's huge. Mm-hmm. And I love to talk about the whole 3 pillars concept. You've got nutrition, you've got training, and you've got hormones. And if you've got one of those things out of balance, then probably all 3 are screwed. So it's incredibly important to make sure that you balance all 3 of those. And then I think week 5 is more mindset and supplements. We're a little bit more cutting edge. And then week 6 is integrating a program, based on your wants and needs, based on all the information you just got over 5 weeks. And then, of course, Monica and I and Jim will be working with people individually, depending on what they want. Like you were saying, the actionable stuff is, I think the first thing we do in week 1 next tomorrow is we want pictures from everybody. We, again, not necessarily, hey, there's Dr. Brett. How you doing, Brett?
How are you?
Hey, Doc.
We're just talking about the age reversal program. We'll get to you in 2 seconds. But I think, we really want to just kind of have an idea, Scott, where everybody is, so that, we can kind of look at them and then individually give them, an understanding of where they would like to go, and then, give them real honest, viable feedback and says, well, your goal may be a little bit difficult because, X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So,
right.
But
nice,
yeah,
man.
we're excited. We spent a lot of time, building the kind of the funnel and creating the data that we really want to go over. So we're pretty excited. It's going to be awesome. I mean, hopefully the easy webinar works tomorrow. That's the only worry we have.
Yeah, I'm sure it will work just fine, man. Nice. What's up, Doc? How are you?
I'm well. Yourself?
Fantastic. So, we were just talking kind of about the age reversal program that Jay's put together for 6 weeks. He's got about 35 people doing it right now, which is pretty
awesome.
cool. Yeah. The next thing that you had kind of on here was that you wanted to talk about, Jay. I don't know, why don't you go? But it looks like you want to talk about intermittent fasting. Is that something that we want to get into?
We can talk about that, towards the end. I really want to talk a little bit about Brett's practice, let Brett talk about his new practice, because it's technically, he's been soft launching it for the last couple weeks. They're in their new facility. And then also we want to talk about S.O.R. And Scott, just so you know, really the age reversal program is kind of a feeder program for S.O.R. We wanted to get some people in, feel it out, find out what's going to happen as far as who's really interested in taking it a step further, because obviously the natural progression would be fly to South Florida and meet with us, for real hands-on type stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little bit of a working experiment. Honestly, I didn't expect to get as many people as we have sign up for it. So it honestly is going to be really beneficial for Brett and all of us, from a SOAR perspective long term, because we got people from all across the country that are in the program.
That's awesome.
Yep. So Brett, you want to talk a little bit about the practice?
Sorry about the noise, guys.
Oh, no worries.
What is going on? We, as Jay had alluded to, we have launched our practice softly over the past, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks. Basically, what we're doing is I have become affiliated with a local plastic surgeon who has a very, very large following at this point, and we've sort of generated a hybrid practice in order to best be able to deal with individuals basically from the inside and the outside, and the practice is it's ever evolving. We have some thought processes as to where ultimately this practice is going to go, with some sort of with the addition of some sort of regenerative technology, i.e. PRP and stem cells. And that the logistics of which have yet to be worked out. The basis of the practice obviously is sort of an initial risk factor assessment in order to identify potential risk factors for age-related disease, and then gather as much data on these individuals as possible through basic laboratory testing, through sort of for those that have chosen the more advanced package, utilizing technology such as ultrasound technology to sort of assess their cardiovascular risk. So do assessments on their carotid arteries, their femoral arteries, take a look at their heart, and also do what's called neurocognitive testing, which is really going to allow us to see how well individuals' brains are working, not so much to see how quote-unquote smart somebody is, but actually tease out some of the sort of the more esoteric modalities that sort of make us human, make us highly functioning individuals. And these are the things: verbal memory, visual memory, our level of executive function, our reaction time, et cetera, et cetera. These are the things that we start losing and can be teased out by these tests when we develop when we utilize, when we develop early dementia, or what's called mild cognitive impairment, MCI. And we actually have had patients that have undergone the screening thus far who, despite being in their 50s, have fairly significant memory loss. Now, that may be a function of significant vascular disease, even at an early age. So again, we're talking about risk factors for disease. And like I always say, it's just a matter of geography. So you may have vascular risk factors which are manifested not so much in a coronary event, but by virtue of the fact that your brain function your cognitive function is deteriorating. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to stratify individuals by virtue of their risk factors, and not necessarily give them a score, because it's really hard to give an individual a score. There are various scores such as Framingham risk factor score, et cetera, which are basically vascular scores. But in order to sort of determine how old somebody is, not chronologically but biologically, you have to amass a significant amount of data. So we're trying to amass a significant amount of data in the office by offering these various tests and testing modalities in order to better stratify somebody's risk for the development of stroke, heart attack, Alzheimer's disease. And all of these diseases, as I've always said, are very, very similar, with similar underpinnings. And what we're doing is we're constructing a treatment plan based upon an individual's risks in the context of their goals. So if somebody comes and they said, well, I just sort of want to see how old my body is, we're going to put them through whatever battery of tests they opt for. And again, there's sort of two packages that we put together, sort of a base level package, a foundational package, if you will, which encompasses sort of a physical examination, body anthropometry, so body fat testing, visceral fat testing, and then there's a more advanced package which allows us to see delve a little bit more deeper. In other words, gather some more digital data. I always tell people that that you're zeros and ones to me. So the more data that I can extract from you, the better I can design a program that's going to help you mitigate risk factors for disease and also guide your guide the protocol in the context of your goals. So, like I said, somebody comes to me and they want to sort of see how old they are, and they don't have any complaints. I don't want to gain muscle. I don't want to lose fat. I don't really have any goals. Well, that's fine. I mean, we can do these things. We can give them a baseline assessment, and we can follow that on a yearly basis, et cetera, et cetera. We can optimize their hormones. We can optimize their hormones. Teach them how to eat properly, et cetera, et cetera. Those individuals that say want to lose body fat, we sort of shunt them into the proper diet, okay, or proper nutritional sort of training, and we're going to ultimately have a nutritionist on board. Somebody's supposed to come on board within the next 3 months or so, and design their training program for them. Somebody that is looking to gain some lean body mass. It's going to be a slightly different program. We're also talking about incorporating some genetic testing. I'm not going to go into that right now because it's something that, like the stem cell and the PRP, is in the works. And actually, there are companies out there that are now offering a variety of genetic testing. And again, I'm not going to go into it, but you can actually gear your training and your nutrition according to your genetics. That's and awesome. This is going to be the future. So again, what we're trying to do is, so the genes of somebody's genotype, not their phenotype, not what they look like, not how they're built, but their genotype, okay, is going to be another piece in the puzzle, okay? And
Doc, what would that do for people? Would it allow them to understand what they should and should not be putting in their body based on how their genes react to food?
Well, it's not so much that. We all know what's quote unquote good for us as far as our eating, but there are some individuals that are going to be, as an example, that are going to gravitate more towards sort of a mesomorphic body type and versus an ectomorphic body type. So an endurance training guy versus sort of a strength training guy, and based upon their genotype, we actually can tailor their training and their diet. So it's not so much it's telling us what's a bad thing to eat or what's a good thing to eat. We sort of know that. It's just a matter of further tweaking the training and the diet based upon one's genotype. Yes, there are genes which are associated or correlated with various diseases, And those are the individuals. Again, we're looking to extract as much data from the person that walks in. We're looking to get the zeros and ones. It's like in the Matrix, okay? Give us as much data as you possibly can give us, okay? Let us take a look at you, okay, from the inside, okay, which is what I'm going to do, and then make the appropriate tweaks. Again, diet, exercise, hormonal optimization, stress management, et cetera, et cetera. And then my partner, in this very, very interesting hybrid-like paradigm, my partner, because the person that comes to me and they say, well, I used to be very, very athletic, and now I have pain in my joints, and now I have all these lines on my face like I have here, and these things that I don't like. Okay, I'm going to, do my best to tweak them from the inside, and that may involve, as I had said, diet, nutrition, stress management, hormones, et cetera, et cetera. Ultimately, we're going to probably get into the regenerative aspect of this, so be doing stem cells and PRP, and we're talking to some people right now who ultimately are probably going to be involved with the practice, who do, because I can do the spine injections, okay, but there are individuals who, there's one company in particular who's very, very big on doing stem cells for shoulders, knees, okay, any of the joints that undergo the degenerative process. So we're really trying to get these people entirely back, okay, to their sort of their youthful hormonal profile, their youthful physicality, et cetera, et cetera. And my plastic surgery colleague, obviously, these are all part of the same sort of groups of individuals, whatever you want to call them, the type A's or the people that are interested in this type of stuff, okay? Ultimately, it'll be everybody, but right now it's not. We need to show them, this treatment paradigm. She's going to ultimately end up dealing with the lines on the face, and people want to have their brows lifted, or they want to have the Botox, they want to have the fillers, they want to look younger on the outside. She's the person who's going to be dealing with the outer aspects of the individual, the appearance, if you will. And again, these are the same subset of people. So it's a very, very interesting sort of chimeric practice model, and it's all really under one roof. So that was a long-winded answer, because it really is a fairly sort of robust setup. At least it is in my mind. I think that people are going to come and they're really going to enjoy the experience in the office there. It's really sort of a one-stop shop, and we have this whole it's like if you want to use the word, it's sort of a synergenics, except synergenics on steroids. Now we have the plastic surgery complement to it. Now we're going to be doing the stem cells probably, and the PRP and the hormone replacement, and all of these things. They feed off of one another, so to speak. So it's very interesting. We're very, very excited.
Yeah, you should be. Go ahead, Scott.
I got a question for you. So who's your ideal client?
Right. So that's a good question, and the answer is that ultimately everybody is the ideal client, because everybody ultimately is going to say, I'm not going to pigeonhole my practice and say, well, only the people that are interested in in hormone replacement, the males who are I'm not interested. Okay, I'm interested in taking the guy who is 55 years old, who says, I used to be very, very athletic, or the gal, I used to be very, very athletic, and now my joints, and I can't go to the gym, and I haven't exercised, and I'm out of shape, and my hormones are out. I'm not going to tell me that, but my libido's down, et cetera, et cetera. I'm looking to get those individuals again. Everybody's going to go through this. Everybody's going to go through it at a different pace and at a different time in their lives, but everybody is going to go through it. So what we're looking to do is mitigate risk factors for disease, mitigate slow the aging process, thwart the degenerative disease process. And again, as I've said 1,000 times, not only are all these diseases the same, or sort of they're on a spectrum, but they're all degenerative diseases. Every one of these diseases, is a degenerative disease. Any age-related disease is a degenerative disease. I'm talking about the non-communicable diseases, so not in the infectious diseases. Everything else, all the diseases that kill us, have common underpinnings. They're one and the same, at least in my mind. So we're looking from a variety of different approaches or trajectories to attack these diseases. Again, I'm sort of the inside guy, if you will, and my partner is sort of the outside gal, who can do whatever she's a brilliant aesthetic surgeon. She does terrific work. So the answer to your question, Scott, is anybody and everybody. We're not going to pigeonhole the practice and say, well, it's only for this subset of individuals. Because again, everybody's going through these processes in their lives. At one time or another. And everybody walking this earth wants to look good and feel good. There's no question about it.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
Well, hold on, Scott, real quick. The fascinating stuff about what he was just talking about is this is really what SOAR is, Scott. So when somebody comes to SOAR, and we'll talk more about SOAR. I want you to, if you can, pull up Brett's new practice. I want people to see his the homepage of his new website because it's awesome. But it's drbretosborne.com, and then you can screen share it.
okay.
But it's really cool. But all the things that Brett's talking about and all those amazing thoughts going through his head is really the future of, technically, hopefully for medicine. But as Brett talks about and gets serious, so it's pretty awesome. He's got like, this Dr. Osborne wants you to prevent seeing him, right? So, I mean, this is where it's all going. And so this is really what the whole, cost benefit of coming to SOAR is, because you're going to be able to be, seen by Brett, evaluated by Brett, and he's going to be able to literally work with you on all these different tests, right? Your cognitive, your physical, like you said, and then, if you do want something external, you can work with his partner, Dr. Goldberg. So, I mean, it's pretty awesome. I mean, it really is. I mean, I was going to ask you, Brett, a couple of things I want you to expound on. PRP is becoming, all the rage in a lot of the bigger coastal population centers. Ryan Galante, who's your patient, just recently had it done. He tells me it's amazing. It completely healed his shoulder. He thought his shoulder was ruined for life. And he says his shoulder, he's got like almost 99% mobility in his shoulder. So I'm hearing all these things, great things about PRP. And then also just kind of talk about, what of this stuff, of these tests, are, they'll be getting at SOAR.
Right. So, we will be talking about stem cell technology and PRP at SOAR. Again, what we're trying to do, what the premise behind PRP and stem cells is to be able to rejuvenate tissues that have been damaged by age-related degeneration, basically. And I'm not going to go into the details, but basically, with PRP, you are essentially, you're using growth factors, platelet-derived growth factors, basically, to stimulate regeneration of the articular surfaces, et cetera, et cetera. Stem cells the injection of stem cells is a little bit more than what is offered through PRP technologies. It's a little bit more of an invasive undertaking, but nevertheless, the early data that we do have is striking. And Jay, the story that you just had related is not an uncommon story. Those are not uncommon results. Yes, there is a subset who will not respond to these technologies, but there's a larger cohort of individuals, at least in my mind, who will. And it's really just a matter of bringing these technologies to the masses. But the potential for really rejuvenating individual joints, multiple joints, and ultimately allowing for facilitating an individual's return to function is tremendous with these newer technologies that are coming down the pike right now. So we're planning on integrating these things into our practice as expeditiously as possible. It's just a matter of doing these things correctly, because there are some FDA regulations, et cetera, just like everything else. Okay, we have to be very, very careful, and it has to be very, very well thought out. By the time SOAR comes in February, in all likelihood, these technologies will be available through the office. I mean, we're moving on it right now, but we're moving prudently. And I have some individuals who are helping me in that regard, who have made sort of the connections for me to this larger entity.
Do you think that, back to what you were just saying, do you think that the people that PRP and stem cell will respond better to are people that are still technically active, still training, just working around, the achy joints or the injured areas, or does it really matter that someone that literally has done nothing, say, has been inactive for 15 years and is now 56 and has just gotten on a kick where I want to be, like you said, I was an athlete in my late 20s and early 20s or whatever, and now I want to be back.
Well, it's a great question, Jay, and ultimately, I don't know of any data right now. It probably doesn't exist because we're very, very early on in this technology. My thought, okay, just like everything else, is that these technologies are probably going to be best appreciated or best received by those individuals who are who are active. That doesn't necessarily preclude those individuals who are inactive, but I can tell you that in my practice, obviously, if somebody is going to undergo one of these regenerative technologies, either PRP injection, stem cells, or both, because a lot of people do undergo both, they are going to be handheld, okay? And this is another thing that is going to be integrated into the practice, whereby there's going to be some sort of accountability to an individual who's going to be sort of their coach, okay? From a physical standpoint, from a nutritional standpoint. So those individuals are not going to be left to languish having received this technology. In all likelihood, when the data does come down come out of the studies, what they're probably going to show is that those individuals who are active and who are strength training within their limits ultimately fare better from the standpoint of increasing their joint mobility, and from the standpoint of the fact that by injuring these muscles electively through strength training, they're going to have a much more robust supportive hormonal response. So elevated levels of growth hormone in the wake of strength training, elevated levels of testosterone are probably going to bolster or augment the effects of these regenerative technologies. And that's probably going to be borne out in the studies. I mean, it's just logical. We all know how the body works. So you go and you invest the money in these technologies, you invest the time. You know, it would be in your best interest to obviously do everything in your power to get these, you know, to see the effect that you had initially sort of signed up for. So it would be in your best interest to stay as mobile as possible. But again, I don't think it's preclusive, you know, if an individual is sedentary. My goal is to get those people who are sedentary off their butts and get them optimized from a hormonal standpoint, a dietary standpoint, have them lose the weight, and get them engaged as quickly as possible in physical therapy, and ultimately transitions to strength training. So
Awesome.
that's my thought.
Go ahead, Scott.
Doc, I was going to ask you, with the practice, are you guys taking any insurance whatsoever? Or is it?
You know, for the anti-aging,
I wasn't sure about how that would even work in the insurance.
The anti-aging aspect of the practice is certainly not going to be covered by insurance companies, at least as the in-depth modalities that we are doing. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars getting an echocardiogram, a carotid ultrasound, a carotid duplex, a femoral runoff, if you will, and an aortogram. Cognitive screening is also expensive. A neuropsychological evaluation, thousands and thousands of dollars. Okay, so we package everything together, and also the hormones. Okay, everything is included in these costs. Everything. So if you decide to go for sort of this foundational package, there's a price. Okay, labs are included. We have deals with local laboratories, and we can run individuals through these laboratories. It's very, very simple. We have access to their EMR, if you will. So we facilitate this for the patient. We expedite it for the patient to come. Okay, everything is sort of set in stone. You run through your tests. You run through your physical examination. And we do spend a lot of time with the individuals. A basic evaluation takes about an hour, and the more advanced, it takes about 2 hours. Now, as we start adding modalities, and people start seeing a strength trainer, a nutritionist, there's going to be a little bit more time involved. These are probably going to fall under ancillary branches of the practice. I haven't figured out how we're going to do the pricing structure of that, the fee structure. But the long answer, or the short answer to your question is no. These are not covered by services. Are not covered by insurance. My neurosurgical practice, okay, which is also another thing that's hooked onto this. I'm mostly doing trauma, but I'm still doing elective neurosurgery. That is somewhat of an insurance-based practice. Okay, we are taking Medicare, but we're not taking any of the other commercial insurances. And by the way, we also are taking TRICARE for any veterans that may be watching for neurosurgery.
Is that you, Scott? Is that us? Is that you?
Hi, Monica. I'm sorry?
No, I was just saying we're hearing distortion. I don't know if it's us or you.
I don't know. It's
I don't think it's you. It's either me or Scott. Don't worry about it. It's gone now. Are you hearing it, Scott?
I was. I'm not.
Yeah, Scott. You know, one of the reasons why is it's really just insurance is just a tremendous drain on our resources right now.
Of course.
And when it all is said and done, okay, individuals, and Monica and Jay can tell you about this, you end up paying tremendous copays on a lot of these things. The insurance companies are nightmares. In other words, they'll deny things. They'll say, why are you seeing the 40-year-old guy who has hypogonadism? Well, because he does, and just because you don't recognize it, that doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't exist. So herein lies, then the next thing you know, you have a bill for $500 from your insurance company because they're not going to cover my services. I'm not doing that anymore. Okay, we're done with that. And you know what? Patients should be happy because it's a bundled price. You get a lot of things. You get a lot of attention. You get a lot of service. Okay, everybody has my cell phone number. Everybody, which is very, very unusual. All my patients have my cell phone number. They have access to me basically 24/7. They have access to my staff 24/7. Okay, period. So for what you pay for, I think the value proposition is tremendous.
Yeah, I mean the real truth, Scott, is and we as Brett knows, we've been experimenting with the whole SOAR model and how to price SOAR. I mean, for $2,500, what we're giving people at SOAR, I mean you can't calculate. It's a fucking giveaway. Excuse my language, but it's literally
it's unfathomable. I mean, really, Scott, the value
to come and get the services that Brett's going to give you, to get the 2 days with all of us on hormonal optimization, mindset, Navy SEAL stuff. It's insane. I mean, it's like we said from the beginning.
It's a lot. It's really a lot.
But there's no competitor. There's no one in the industry, at least as of now, that's really doing what we're doing. I mean, yeah, there's guys out there that do Navy SEAL training, and yeah, there's guys out there that'll do the testing that Brett's going to do, but there's no one doing it in like an all-inclusive, 2.5 to 3 day event where you literally will come and leave informed for the rest of your life.
It's hands-on. It's hands-on. There's something like that.
Yeah, very, very hands-on. I can't say enough good things about SOAR and the team that we have. It really is. It's going to be something that's very, very special, and I will tell you that ultimately we will see some things that sort of spawn out of our original idea. There's no question about it because it is such a good idea, and it's really something where, as Jay had said, when you come to SOAR 3 days later, okay, you literally, while you may not physically be a new person, okay, you will in time. Mentally, your mind will be opened, okay, and you will be armed, as Jay had said, for the rest of your life. It's more than an introduction. You are. I mean, we really delve very, very deep, and it's hands-on, and it's a lot of touches, et cetera, et cetera. So while it is a group, that we are going to be servicing, it's a relatively small group, okay, and the ratio of students to instructors, I think is tremendous. And the cast of characters sort of that we have, I don't think it's matched anywhere. I really, really don't. So
it's not.
I can't say enough good things about SOAR.
I'm excited, and I wish it was tomorrow.
Yes.
Likewise.
Can you hear Brett? Can you hear Monica's nasal still? It still has not gone away.
Sorry, you doing a little better with it?
Actually, no, this is my sexy voice, baby.
Dude, it's still here.
He says he wants strange. I think I'm a little strange.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, my dad had something like that for about 3 months, I'll tell you, and it's just one of these things where it's just it's a chronic cough, and they're probably viral. And they're hard to shake sometimes, and you cough, and then you irritate your airways even worse, and then it's like a self-inflicted thing. It's just got to be broken.
Okay, I need a little more attention. That's all it's about. I gotta get some me loving time. That's all.
Dude, I swear, she wakes up in the middle of the night hacking, and I literally roll over and I'm like, oh my God, are you gonna work another night? I mean. Yeah. Anyway. Scott, do you have it down there? Do you or your girl have it where there's this horrible long chest cough?
Yeah, Trisha has something like this right now. It's crazy. Like she'll just cough randomly, and it's like it's deep and got stuff in there,
All she needs is a little TLC.
I know too many people that have it, but I mean, it's just Monica's had it for literally 2 months. I mean, Brett scripted her some really heavy stuff for a week, and it's still. I mean, it definitely improved it, but it's still there. Just kind of.
Jay, let me hear about what's going on with your program.
Okay, so yeah, real quick, the program's tomorrow. We have 34 people as of last check signed up. It's a feeder program for SOAR. Ultimately, I'll send you the PDF. I think I have sent you
I
to
saw
it. Yeah, you saw it, right? I put it. I uploaded it.
How's that going to work? Explain that to me.
Basically, we're just going to do 1 hour webinar starting tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. They're going to do it for 6 weeks. And, you know, people are going to just log on and listen to me, Jim, and Monica, you know, discuss the various topics that are in that PDF. So I think tomorrow is really about expectations. Week 2 is about nutrition. Week 3 is strength training, endurance training. Week 4 is hormonal optimization. Week 5 is a little bit of mindset and maybe a little bit more esoteric, like supplementation stuff, like advanced stuff. And then week 6 is just kind of tying it or integrating it all together. You know, sending people on to SOAR, and just kind of finding out where we go based on those person's individual wants and needs.
Right. And Jay, what is? I mean, that sounds great. I think you're probably going to learn a tremendous amount about just
Exactly.
You know, delivering this message in general. And I'll probably be discussing some of these things with you. You know, as SOAR approaches.
Yep.
Monica, your arms are looking big, by the way.
That's right, homie.
Good God.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing a photo shoot. We're doing FMI, and in 2 weeks they were doing a photo shoot at Metro Flex in Long Beach. So they asked us to come down, and plus we needed to get some new fitness shots, just like you and Melissa got like 6 months. And so we're kind of dieting down for it. So you know how that is. So.
Oh yeah.
You guys, you know what I'm really excited about though about this age reversal program is that. So let's say like some of the people that don't necessarily want to travel and yet they want to get a little like nugget of what it is that we're teaching there. It's great. It's a great little nugget, and then eventually they can lead up to that. I'm really excited to see how it all plays out because we've got some really cool content.
Yep, for sure.
Jay, there may be actually something that that we talk about also. You know, as far as SOAR is concerned. In other words, doing some bits and pieces, webinars, if you will, hour-long little clips from it, so that you know, in other words, to teach individuals, to spark some interest, et cetera, for future engagements. Maybe
exactly. Yeah, exactly. All of these will be recorded, and you know, I'll get my editor, you know, out here that we do the real estate stuff to like, you know, make a reel, like a highlight reel or a demo reel of everything, and you know, we can either, if it's really good and they come out awesome, you know, we can package them. But that's what I was thinking too, you know, about ultimately with SOAR, is that for some people that can't travel, you know, your anti-aging lecture is amazing. You know, hopefully my hormonal one will be awesome. You know, we can package
it. Absolutely
yeah, Brett and Monica. I mean, you know, Jim's mobility stuff. I mean, I really think that it's something that, you know, down the road we can even monetize it from just selling it as a package.
You know what's interesting, you guys? Yesterday we had a mindset training over at our KW office, and we incorporated just some of the little tidbits of what we use daily, and it's what I find that's so interesting is that every single one of us, I don't care who it is, every single one of us is looking for a better way to live. And it's like you can talk mindset and see what we're offering at SOAR. It's so whole body, inside, outside, and it's awesome. I mean, I'm just hearing people's feedback from that and just seeing what's needed out there. I'm telling you guys, there's being, you know, over 30, 35, 40, you can have a way better existence.
Are you over 35?
I'm actually.
Monica is almost.
I'm a young spirit. I don't believe my age.
Monica's almost catching up to me, man. She's got 3 weeks. In 4 weeks, she's gonna be our age, bro.
That's right, bro. Except I still have the spirit of a 22-year-old.
Yeah,
that's right. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's meant to be lived, right, Mr. Scott?
Yeah.
All right, Scott, let's jump into some of the topics we're going to talk about today. So I know we were going to talk a little bit about intermittent fasting.
Optimize solutions to maintain muscle and maximize fat loss.
So I'll just throw in, and I'll let Brett expound on it. I'll just throw in what you know, Brett and I did for our photo shoot, you know, the Get Serious V2 photo shoot we did like 5 months ago or whatever. God, was it already 5 months ago? Holy shit.
All I have to say is it sucks being able to eat as many carbs as you want and not being able to drink. That is.
So anyway, so real quick, so oh, and by the way, Brent, I have a fascinating PDF that I'm going to send you. That Jerry Branham still writes his little Metabolics newsletter,
right?
$10 a month. And, I mean, the guy is holy. I mean, you should see this. I mean, he has got some amazing data on intermittent fasting. But basically, Scott, there's like 3 or 4 different strategies. But the way that Brett and I would use it is. And what we have done is essentially, like as Brett would say, you shut down eating at like 7 o'clock at night, 7:30 at night, and then you go until the next morning. Girls and guys, a little bit different metabolic changes, but women can't go as long as men, typically because they're just not designed biologically to last.
Crazy.
But you can go like 12 to 14-hour windows, Scott, where you don't eat. So there's guys out there that have gotten it to 16 to 18 hours.
But nothing? You don't eat anything? No protein shake? Nothing?
Nothing. You literally drink water, coffee. You take caffeine. You could take branched chain amino acids if there's technically no flavoring in there that elicits an insulin spike or a response. But technically, no, it's just fasting. Now, there's a lot, and I'll let Brett expound upon it. There's a lot of research. There's a lot of data that fasting creates positive changes in the brain. Again, that's his specialty. He can talk about that. But for fat loss, it's amazing how fast you can strip off body fat if you do it correctly. Now, we don't do it in a way where you don't get, the recommended amount of protein, right? Because if you're trying to maintain your muscle, you still got to get whatever your body weight, preferably grams of protein a day or close to it, probably lean body weight. And you should still get just as many calories as you need, to maintain wherever you're at, whatever deficit you're trying to maintain. So, but you're just eating in those windows. So again, let's say I'll use me for example. I'm 210 pounds right now. I'm probably about 7% body fat. If I was doing it, and I'm not technically doing it right now, but if I was doing it, I would stop eating at 7:30 and I would not eat again until 1 o'clock the next day. And then from 1 o'clock until 7:30, I would probably have 10 to 12 calories a pound of body weight, getting 210 to 225 grams of protein, and then whatever's left based on my caloric requirement, in between carbs and fat. And my carbs would try to be low glycemic, probably pretty clean carbs. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you're looking at me, 210 pounds. I'm eating 12 calories a pound. I'm somewhere in the range of like 2,500, right around 2,600 calories in a day, but I'm only eating in that window between 1 o'clock and 7:30 during the time, and the rest of the time I'm fasting. So all the metabolic changes that are going on in my fast window, preferentially can speed fat loss or the reduction of body fat. Brett, you want to expound on what goes on in the head from fasting?
I have a close friend of mine who was my co-chief resident at NYU in neurosurgery, and he's very into this intermittent fasting, and he's really got it. He's going to have some very, very interesting data, I would say within the next 6 to 12 months time, which shows just how good this type of sort of eating regimen is. Not so much from the standpoint of fat loss. Yes, he's lost about 15 pounds. He's almost where he wanted to be, sort of his goal weight. But also from the standpoint of what goes on metabolically. So basically what you're doing is you're running at a very, very, as you had alluded to, Jay, you're running in a very, very low insulin state for the vast majority of the day, okay? Right. And now if you, depending upon how your goals. Your goal, Jay, obviously is not to lose 20 pounds, which you could do very easily if you wanted to, by just cutting that carbohydrate signal down, right. And really by virtue of that, your insulin signal. But if you want to do the best at riding the fine line between anabolism and catabolism, okay, and you can't do both, okay, right. Maintain your leanness, your lean muscle mass, okay, but really sort of strip that fat off. You can do it, okay? And what I was saying about my friend is that he's a very, very data-oriented gentleman, very, very scientific, very, very intelligent man. And he literally, for the past 3 months, during his, this foray into this, not only has he read several books on it, but he's turned this really into a science. So he has an Excel spreadsheet with fasting glucose levels, daily fasting glucose levels, and then glucose levels prior to his break fast, okay, which he typically does around, as you had said, Jay, I think his first meal is about 1 o'clock,
Right.
and then he continues to eat until I believe it's around 7, like what you were saying, Jay. And he has intermittent data points, okay, with glucose levels, and he has his ketone levels.
Yep.
It's extremely interesting because he is trying to lose fat, so he keeps his carbohydrate, his daily carbohydrates under 50 grams. And that's not you, Jay, okay?
Right.
But so they're all low glycemic index, okay? And they're all, his total volume is very, very low. I forget what his total caloric intake is during the day, but he's a lighter individual. Okay, Jay, he's not 210 pounds, he's about 160 pounds or something like that. Yeah. And where I'm going with this is that he has figured out now where his sweet spot is. He has figured out exactly how much carbohydrate he needs, when he has to eat. He has figured out exactly how much protein he needs in order to keep him deep into ketosis. He has figured out exactly what he needs to eat before he trains, and he's strength training. Okay, and really hasn't lost any strength. He actually has amassed. He hasn't amassed muscle, but he's amassed some strength, interestingly, despite losing body fat. And his name escapes me, but there's a gentleman and so he has a lot of data. He's a lot of insights into this stuff. And he's convinced, and so is this gentleman in South Africa, and I don't remember his name, but he's the guy that LeBron James went to visit in order to become what's called keto adapted. It took him 3 months. 3 months. Okay, 3 months. Not 3 weeks. Okay, 3 months. And he's the guy who has the biggest experience with this in the world, okay, this ketogenic diet. And he's convinced, as is this other guy, that we, as humans, were not made to run, okay,
right,
on sugar at all.
Right.
Okay? Sugar is a relatively, the metabolism of sugar, our metabolism of sugar is a relatively new phenomenon. In other words, we were eating ketogenic diets when we were cavemen, okay, or when we were Australopithecus or Oreopithecus, or all these, you know all about this stuff, Jay. This anthropology. Whenever we were, okay, we were eating meat, okay, and we were eating green leafy vegetables. Well, that's pretty much a ketogenic diet.
Yep.
Okay, right. Okay, so that's how our species evolved. Okay, our brains, I will tell you. Okay. I've done little experiments with myself, okay, and he's done, obviously, this 3 months of data tracking, and it's incredible the amount of data he's got in this Excel spreadsheet. It's incredible, okay? He knows exactly his macronutrient content in order to knock himself out of ketosis. It's very interesting. But anyway, he's convinced, and I am too with my limited experience, that our brain, and I challenge anybody to do this, okay, our brains work better
on ketones.
Running on ketones, okay?
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it.
That's right. Okay, so here's a challenge for everybody watching. You don't even have to do this for more than one day. Stop eating at 7 o'clock. Just stop. Okay, stop eating at 7 o'clock. When you get up in the morning, have some coffee. Okay, black, no sugar. Okay,
caffeine, right?
MCT oil, whatever you want to do. Okay, I don't care. Okay, because that will drive you deeper into ketosis. Okay, and so that'll be your caffeine. I guarantee you, your brain is working better. Yep. Okay, you'll see that your focus is better because the carbohydrates destroy. Okay, and we don't really know how this works. It's obviously some sort of serotonergic probably response to the glucose. Okay, to the insulin, whatever it is, that dampens your brain function. Okay, it dampens your brain function. One day I'll have the resources to be able to do neurocognitive testing on people on ketogenic diets. Okay, I'm sure they have it. I just haven't mined the data myself. Versus people that are eating not garbage but just sugar, and you just do this nice controlled study. And here you go, okay. And my guess, okay, is that the people that are fasting, okay, are going to fare much better. Your clock speed is going to be better, and that's even minus the caffeine. People say, well, it's just the caffeine. No, it isn't. Okay, no. Right. My guess is that it's not. Okay, my guess is that there's something else going on here. Okay, which remains, ill-described at this point. But what's interesting is that, and my friend, who's a bariatric surgeon here, who's very obviously into obesity. Spent some time with this guy down in South Africa, and he told me that this guy not only takes people and converts them over to become what's called keto adapted, okay, right, which takes months, okay, but he's now doing some studies on powerlifters, okay, under the assumption that powerlifters, and again, this is a neural thing. This isn't a guy who wants to become enormous and has to have that glycogen, but a powerlifter, he's trying to prove that people will not lose strength. Okay, and he's probably going to end up proving it because, again, we all know that powerlifting, not bodybuilding, right, okay, is a neural sport. It's neural. Okay, all sports are neural, but it's not a sport like bodybuilding where your muscle is filled by virtue of glycogen. Okay, so you don't need big muscles, as we all know, to bench press 500 pounds. As a matter of fact, some of these guys are my size and they bench 500. How's that possible? It's clearly not a size thing. Okay, this is a neural thing, and my guess is that the data is going to ultimately be borne out to suggest that this works just fine. Again, we're not talking about bodybuilders. So I think, okay, that just based upon the preliminary research that I've done, and the information that I've gleaned from my friend, is that this is going to end up being a very, very favorable maneuver for an individual, not only from the standpoint of weight loss, but from the standpoint, Jay, of just sort of total body health. Reducing the amount of insulin that's secreted, reducing the amount of inflammation in the body, okay, by virtue of reducing your insulin signal. I think that ultimately it's going to end up reducing unto itself disease incidence. Of course, that would be if everybody decided to do this, but we're never going to get everybody to do it, as we all know. So that's sort of my take on these, becoming keto adapted and the ketogenic diet. And you're sort of getting into, the edge of this ketogenic state, okay, as you are doing this intermittent fasting, except you could do it on a daily basis.
Right. Well, so here's my take. So I did a lot of research with Lyle McDonald when he wrote the ketogenic diet book about 13 years ago, or it's actually 16 years ago. Fuck, I'm old. And what you're saying is exactly right. For people that are strength training, guys like you and me now, people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, into longevity who want to be maximally lean and also strong and functional, these type of diets are amazing. Just for the people out there watching, if you're a sports, a quick twitch muscle performing sport like a basketball player or, a soccer player, something like that, as Brett will tell you, you absolutely do have to refuel on carbohydrates at various points in times. You also will get that whole feeling of just being run down. So again, the intermittent fasting program is awesome. It definitely is, as Brett said, it's an edgy, there's science. There'll be a lot more science to bear it out, I think, coming. But there are people that have been using, I'm sure that guy in South Africa, like you said, keto adapted diets and intermittent fasting type diets for decades now with great success. Great success. So I think that's something that we can talk about, for the next book of Get Serious, the next version or whatever, too. Scott, the other thing was talking about water consumption, right?
Yeah, and before we move on to that, I was going to say it's interesting that you talk about this. I happen to do this by accident sometimes, not purposefully. But I'll eat, and then the next morning I won't have time to eat, and I'll drink some coffee, and next thing I know, it suppresses my appetite. But then I'm really focused, and I'm not hungry till like the middle of the day. And I've been crushing it for like 6 hours from the morning time I got up, and then I didn't even realize I was doing it.
There's no question that, as Brett said, alluded to, and I did this when I was doing the experiment with and I did the cyclical ketogenic diet, believe me, for literally 2 years straight. And when you're in a solid part of ketosis, as Brett said, you definitely have cognitive increase. I mean, you feel like you just said, Scott, you're in a zone. You don't even have hunger. Like the thought of hunger goes away. Your body is literally, as Brett said, running on ketones.
You're keto adapted. You're not hungry.
No, your brain loves running on ketones. But there is an adaptation point, and I do believe that people that have genetics like Brett and genetics like Monica, where they're very, 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 their insulin signal is, they just have really, really potent insulin sensitivity. It's harder for them.
Else is in that group with you. I'm not sure I'm there, but anyway.
You're definitely there. But it's harder.
Let me feed my ego at least for 2 seconds.
It's harder for those people, Scott, to really adapt to it takes them longer, and their bodies also are more efficient getting a little bit of sugar, but we are all different, and everyone, as Brett alluded to, will convert and adapt to a keto adapted type diet. It's just some people take longer than others, but once you do adapt, man, it's cruise control. Fat loss, cognitive enhancement, like you were saying, the feeling of like I don't need to eat. I've been in stages of ketosis where I literally forgot to eat, and then all of a sudden you're on a point like, holy fuck, I got to eat. I'm
gonna start doing this on purpose now because I can do it. But I was always thought, you're supposed to eat breakfast when you get up, and It's your metabolism going. I don't know. That's what I was taught since I was little or whatever. So
you're going to be testing, so make sure and eat a complete
I mean,
breakfast.
Brett, wouldn't you say that really just the sugar burning, you know, the insulin signal, all that stuff is really just a recent phenomenon with, you know, the rise of agrarian society?
Yeah, there's no question about it. And Scott, you know, getting back to your point, it's not you have to understand something. You are not fasting for. This is not something where you're not eating, okay, for 24, 36 hours in an effort to lose weight.
Right.
That doesn't work very well. It works well in the beginning, but ultimately it will slow your metabolism down. There's no question about it, and you're going to go into a almost like it's a preservation type of mode. So what you are doing here, it's like a bear hibernating. What you're doing here, you are changing, you're varying your insulin signal throughout the day. So the majority of the day, okay, you are going to be sort of in this, at least the way I see this, okay, in this fat burning mode. You may be in deep ketosis, okay, if you check your ketones, okay. But then, and again, this is sort of my take on the entire thing. What you want to be doing is you want to be eating, as Jay had said, for those 6 hours, not putting yourself to the point where you're existing only on, as an example, fat. You are going to be putting some, you know, a lot of protein into your body, and protein causes your insulin to go up. So the goal is to really, during the time that you're burning fat, but you are during the time where you are eating protein and eating fat during the day and low carbohydrates, you're lessening, okay, your degree of ketosis, so that you're not turning yourself into, you know, the goal is to not turn yourself into a skeletor, okay? The goal is to be able to ride that fine line between the fat loss, the anabolic catabolic line, okay, which is what's, and this is the basic premise of carbohydrate or caloric cycling, okay? All those are sort of intermittent fasts, if you will. On the days that you are not working out, okay, you're fasting the majority of the day. On the days that you are, you're refilling your carbohydrate stores, okay? So all you're doing, and Jay didn't get into this, but that's sort of another level of, you don't just follow one diet, okay, where you're just intermittently fasting independent of your training. If you're doing caloric or carbohydrate cycling, whatever you want to call it, okay, then you are changing your carbohydrate load during the day, depending upon what you're doing during that day, okay, whether it's heavy strength training or not, and you're doing an endurance day, okay, in which case you want to be burning fat. So you're riding that fine line between, uh-oh, I'm anabolic, uh-oh, or good, I'm catabolic. You know, you don't want to be too deeply into the anabolic or the storage phase, because it will take time, okay, to dig yourself out. So a properly designed intermittent fasting protocol is going to just push you over the edge into anabolism and push you over the edge into catabolism, okay? And that's really the art of the entire thing. Everybody's different. Everybody's an individual. Everybody has different basal levels of their carbohydrate sensitivity or their insulin sensitivity. So there's a lot to be said for trial and error with these diets. I can tell you for sure that if you start cutting your carbohydrates out, if you want to go deep into ketosis, okay, it's not very, very hard, okay, but as Jay had said, it's going to require a little bit of trial and error, because people have to find their own sweet spot. And if you really want to do it and be aggressive like my friend, you're going to have to get the data points, okay? You don't have to go and start sticking your fingers and stuff like that. He was sort of doing that because he's an academician, but you do have to use keto sticks. And you'll figure out how much carbohydrate load you need to give yourself, and make sure that after a workout, as an example, you are going to be out of ketosis. You're going to be out of ketosis in all likelihood, because I know you're saying, well, wait a minute, I burn up sugar when I work out. It's true, but you also have a tremendous cortisol response, and you have to make insulin to deal with that cortisol, to deal with that sugar response. So you're going to be out of ketosis, which is really where you want to be after a workout. You want to recover. You want to be anabolic, okay? But then the rest of the time, after you've done your initial acute phase of recovery, you want to go into that catabolic state, which typically occurs after dinner, okay? And that's really how this intermittent fasting works. Now, if you are on a day where you are not training heavily,
right?
Okay, not training heavily, you're doing your endurance work, okay? What you want to do is you want to stay, okay, in ketosis that entire day. That's going to be the day where you are burning more fat than you would be when you are.
That's exactly what we're doing today, Brett.
That's right. And this is what you think about this. It makes perfect sense. It's logical. Okay, this is different than the individual. Again, it really depends upon your goal. It's different than the individual who wants to, lose body fat. Okay, and those individuals, it's more of a, you want to stay in ketosis the majority of the time. Okay, and you have to be careful. Okay, because what can end up happening is that you can end up shedding too much muscle mass. So you have to again. Ride that fine line between the anabolism and catabolism and figure out where your sweet spot is. Okay, you can start developing that skeletal, calorically restricted individual look. Okay, if you're combining the strength training, you can. If you're combining the strength training and you're riding deeply into ketosis, okay, and you're not supplementing yourself in the immediate phase after that workout with a little bit of carbohydrate. That's when your carbohydrate should come. You do need to recover. You can't just keep breaking down. Then you're talking about what the CrossFit people do. A lot of these people.
Hey, real quick, guys, we just got to sign up for SOAR from this show, so there you go.
Wait, I just want to mention something really quick. Yesterday after we trained, I have yet to have my body fat, or what is it? My body fat.
Some idiot.
So we in the gym, they were like testing right as you come out.
The Omicron bioelectrical
index. Guess what my body fat is? Wait. Just guess what they told me my body fat percentage
Well,
was.
remember, women, okay, women, an average body fat for a woman is about 25%. Okay, just so you know, okay? You can't even be close.
No, it was a joke, dude. I literally laughed at her.
22%.
I laughed at the woman. I said, "Look
But
at
you know what?
Leaner than anyone in this gym." Yeah, I know.
22%. Okay, when you're 15% as a woman, you're ripped, and I mean ripped
exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. 12 to 15% is shredded.
Yeah.
I told her she was 14.
Yeah. Jay, I did mine on my my in-body scale, which is I told you a very, very good scale.
Right.
And it was 15%.
Right.
Wow.
A little bit.
I just
you guys know that I run around with what I look like. My abs. I mean, so it's interesting because you think that you're lower than you are, but you actually may not be as low. And I don't really know. Hydration does affect these things, as you know.
Oh yeah, hydration affects them. They can be off to 10%.
Well, I just wanted to mention.
Speaking of water,
I just wanted to mention that only because I know that sometimes people will go to the gym. They'll take advantage of whatever it is they're doing and just do not put too much credence into that. That's all.
All right,
I mentioned that.
Go ahead, Scott. I know we're running over.
You're looking lean as hell, Monica.
Yeah, well, real quick, we're over a little bit, which is fine, but let's just go through the last thing, which is water consumption. And I think this is probably pretty black and white on what you should be doing. So I don't know who wants to start.
I'll just jump in.
Let's start. They're the water people. I got to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, so the truth is that water consumption is I think overrated. You should definitely be drinking a gallon of water a day or close to that amount, depending on your body weight, depending on your goals. As Brett will tell you, if you're an ultra triathlete or an endurance person, you may drink 3 gallons of water a day. I mean, if you're goddamn, doing 50 to 60 miles a day between riding a bike, swimming, and doing whatever else, you may drink 3 gallons of water a day. You may have to replace that. But I think that the average person going through a day in, day out basis should be drinking, 6 to 8 of these, because again, most of our bodies are water. Okay, and you want to replenish, you want to get rid of toxicity, you want to clear out metabolites, you want to clear out all the gunk. So you should be drinking water. Caffeine, electrolyte, the stuff that Monica and I live off of in our lives and stuff like that. If you're going to use that with water, there's probably some chemical issues, whatnot. But I still think it's safer than pounding down fruit juice or pounding down, carbonic, acidic drinks like soda or Pepsi or any of that shit. You want to?
Yeah, who would drink Pepsi or Coke?
Yeah, gross. I know that I drink about 25 ounces of water, 24 ounces of water when I get up in the morning, usually every morning. And it makes me then I don't have to drink. I feel like I rehydrate myself, and I don't have to drink as much all day long. Then I drink, a little. I drink obviously periodically throughout the day, but.
Hey, I say that if you're gonna drink water, even if you use one of those glass bottles, do you guys ever see that experiment where you write on the outside of the bottle and anything positive on the outside of it. It's like it feeds off this, like, I don't know the word, but maybe energy, whatever it is.
no idea what
if you
the hell
put
she's talking
hate,
about.
if you put hate, it's different, and it actually makes the water not as good for you. But if you put like beauty, love, all that on the water outside,
Sure.
there was actually a study.
That's a Monica thing.
Where'd you read it on the internet?
I like it.
Study done.
She read it on the interwebs.
Everything on the internet is true.
It's true.
Brett, the last word on water.
No, Jay and Monica, I know you guys are very, very aggressive about your water intake. Me less so. I do the best I can. My schedule sometimes doesn't permit me to get the amount of water that I would like to get in. But it is particularly important, and I will tell you that there are studies, many studies that I've read actually in Journal of Strength and Conditioning that show the downsides of even being slightly dehydrated in the context of exercise. Okay, your performance will suffer. Okay, there's no question about it. Alzheimer's disease as an example, and I don't know if there are any studies on this. Okay, but it just sort of makes sense. Okay, we've talked about what's called lymphatic flow. Okay, so the brain doesn't have a lymphatic system. Okay, that's the system in the body, for those who don't know what it is, that drains the fluid back into the venous system. The fluid that is resident between your cells. So all the gunk, okay, all the toxic metabolites, okay, the byproducts of metabolism that are leached out, okay, into or out of the cell, okay, are returned into the venous system, okay, and sort of washed out or diluted out by the blood. The brain does not have that, and one of the theories behind the genesis of Alzheimer's disease is that Alzheimer's disease occurs by virtue of the lack of washout of these toxins that accumulate during the day by virtue of our metabolism. So our thinking, just like any other part of the body, generates our ability to think, our ability to execute movements, et cetera, et cetera. Neuronal firing causes metabolites to be built up within the cell. Outside of the cells, and in that what's called interstitium. Now, unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever, there's no lymphatic flow or lymphatic channels, dedicated lymphatic channels within the brain. So if these toxins remain stagnant between the neurons, okay, and there's not this constant efflux, okay, into the spinal fluid and into the venous system, and these pathways are being elucidated right now, but probably one of the functions of cerebral spinal fluid is to wash out these toxins from the brain. If you are not well hydrated, ultimately what's probably going to be borne out, and it's a difficult study, is that the less hydrated an individual is throughout his life, probably is going to be, there's probably going to be some correlate between that and the development of neurodegenerative diseases by virtue of the lack, okay, or the relative lack of toxin washout. So it's extremely important from the standpoint of performance. It's extremely important from the standpoint of removal of toxins, not only from the brain, but from the peripheral tissues. Okay, so that would be, I would just leave people with that, okay, and they can sort of come to their own conclusions as to the importance of water intake. It's extremely important, and obviously, it's not so much that it's I mean, it is that, but it's also the fact that a lot of these other fruit juices, sodas that we're putting into our body in an effort to stay well hydrated, they're just toxic to our systems. And I will tell people that I do drink. People have heard me say that I drink a Coke after my workout. I do. I try to drink the one with cane sugar, right, as opposed to the high fructose, because that bumps my insulin levels up. And I'm not going to deny that. I absolutely do that. And I think it's a great post-workout burst of insulin, if you will. So it prompts the recovery.
We just eat licorice. It's the same.
Right, licorice, same sort of thing, same sort of thing. So I'm not going to tell people, wow, you can't, I'm not like that. There are many other things that we do to our body that are bad, okay? But it's very important to stay hydrated. Extremely important.
Hold on, real quick, Brett, here we go. I just got this email. Jay, is $24.97 inclusive of advanced testing? Physical examination, body anthropometry, laboratory analysis, vascular assessment, cognitive screen, Framingham score, treatment plan formulation, and if not, how do I schedule with Brett to pay for the advanced screening?
Right. So that's a good question. The answer is that it's a good question, but if we were to do that for everybody, I'm going to tell you, we will have no time, and we'll have to make SOAR into a 10-day event. Okay. So the answer, it's a good question. The answer is no. They see me. There's body anthropometry. We give everybody a Framingham score. Okay, right. Which anybody can do at their own home, but people are just lazy. Okay. And lab testing is included in that. Yes. Okay. Then the exam and the rest of SOAR. So
we're going to just have them, so if they come and they want more advanced testing, they can talk to you when they're there, and you can
correct.
With them at that point.
That's correct, and it's something that needs to be scheduled in advance for sure, because we just have to make sure we don't have at this point, we don't have somebody who is on site all the time with me, doing the ultrasonography, et cetera, et cetera. So it just needs to be scheduled in advance, and it's not that difficult. Okay, we need just a couple of weeks, and we can get somebody. Or shorter than that. Okay, just depends.
Is it okay if I CC you and I reply to him? Is it okay if I CC you and I?
Absolutely. I mean, all these things can be arranged. It's not a problem. If somebody wants to have it, and we may end up, what we may do, Jay, is, and this is something that we'll talk about. We may end up offering it to people that want it during SOAR for some sort of additional sort of ancillary fee, just to cover really our costs, and offer that. It's just not really something that I had envisioned offering it to people for the lack of time. Okay, because if we have 20 people and 20 people are having this hour-long, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it can be done. Okay, what'll have to happen is that there'll have to be some sort of on the days, because we're gonna have days where people are seen in clinic, half the people are seen in clinic, half the people are training. We're gonna swap. So what's gonna have to happen is that individual that wants to have it done, or those individuals, they may have to train for a short period of time. In other words, they go for 3 hours instead of going for 6 hours, as an example, to get sort of certified and vetted in the various movements, and they may have to come back to the clinic and get on their second day and get the ancillary test. And that's something that can be worked out as SOAR approaches.
Okay, Yay! Cool. All right, cool. We're gonna go. Scott, you have the last word. Brett, awesome show today. This was an awesome show.
I apologize.
Yeah, this was really great. I mean, just really good information all around. You guys are awesome.
Note this out. We're gonna push this. And just real quick before I hang up, Brett and I, along with all of us, are gonna be doing a big marketing push for SOAR in the next couple months. To get a lot of people coming to. So you guys will be seeing more about that. So we'll have more shows on that. But Scott, last word. Anything else you want to say?
No, thank you, and congratulations, Brett. I'm excited.
Thank you.
You're going to be changing business, or excuse me, medicine, and the way it works, man. It's really exciting. You're on the forefront. Both of you guys. This is just amazing stuff. I'm glad to be a part of it. And everyone that watches, just keep watching and keep learning, and hopefully it's helping you change your life for the better.
Thank you, you guys.
Awesome, man. All right, Scott.